Cybernation Uncensored.
Alrighty, hello everyone in TV land. Welcome to Talk Nerdy to Me, the Cybernation Uncensored, late at night or middle of the day if you're on the flip side of the planet. But welcome, live or in the future or in the past maybe, I don't know. Come one, come all to our little nerdy tete-a-tete. As always, I'm your perpetually disheveled host, Alex, joined by my lovely co-hosts, Gomi and Paulette. So Gomi, go ahead and just, introduce yourself, tell people where what you're covering and where they can find you.
I can be found randomly online in the Impossible Emporium. I cover all sorts of random tech stuff. At the moment, it seems to be too much fucking AI, but we'll move on to one or two other things beyond that, and I'll hand over straight to Paulette, who has some more interesting and joyful things to share.
I'm Paulette Anderson, and I handle tabletop RPGs. A lot of online stuff.
Oh yeah, and we love that. We love that here. It is the foundational brick of the CNU brand is tabletop role playing games. But yeah. So as always, we're gonna go through our talking heads roulette. Gomi, it seems like that you set the stage for what we're looking at. So we'll
let me set it.
Yeah, we'll work our way around. Presumably, it's going to be the same thing it usually is. But
I would wish it wasn't.
Yeah.
If interesting, you mean a epically fast car crash in slow motion in high definition TV, then yes, that would cover it.
Fast and furious. Okay.
Oh yeah. So let's start with OpenAI. Sam Altman, golden boy of this, that, and the other. Started off as a open research project / company, then went this hybrid, we're open source and we're corporate, but we're not the bad corporate, has now just flipped to we're a purely corporate entity aiming for profit, etc., all that kind of shit. I'm not going to bother talking about the models because they're advancing and developing all the time, and whatever I talk about today will be out of date by next month, pretty much. So I want to talk some other things to do with them. So these run on massive data centers. So we're talking, at least house-sized buildings that stack racks and racks of computers. Let's see, a nigh on 2-inch block, 19 inches wide, 20, 30 inches deep, will run 1 to half a dozen CPUs, depending on the configuration, that sort of stuff. NVIDIA have come up with this new fancier chip tech that stacks more and more in together to get more and more processing power into a smaller and smaller space.
Yeah.
These things have two problems. Well, more than two problems, but let's go from there. The first is they consume a fuck ton of electricity, a lot of electricity. I've heard it mentioned that each query can use enough power for a house for a year. So they're chewing through a huge amount of power for you to be able to query these machines. Let's see, yes, speed, blah, blah, blah. And they're not quite as efficient as regular stuff. The industry, we're talking Microsoft, OpenAI, etc., are now looking at going, okay, we need small modular nuclear reactors to power our AIs. So they're looking at spinning up more nuclear plants to power their AIs to run things in a less efficient fashion. And I can't remember the stats, but like in some cases, they've just got a new tech that does image generation 10 times better, as in requires less computing power. So it's 10 times faster, which means less power consumed. So the current algorithms are inefficient in comparison.
Right.
But professional artists producing stuff can produce better quality stuff and can be more focused and dedicated to the precise thing that you want. AI is a general solution tool, gives you rough drafts, and that's about it.
It gives you rough drafts. Can't do mechanical things.
Well,
Like
they can
can't
kind
do
of.
hands, moving parts.
Oh, yeah, they can and kind of can't. They can replicate stuff that has been produced 1,000 times before by people.
Yeah.
So if it's a lot of reproduction, then that's okay. But if it's new ideas, it's complex ideas, then they start to sort of fall apart. And if you need detailed precision in that sort of stuff, they get really hard at adding that sort of level of precision. So, if you want to say, oh, I want the pose like this, no, I actually want it like that, describing how that hand transformation will take you a lot more effort, where a professional artist would go, oh, yeah, give me half an hour, bang, 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 done. Is that the pose you want? And so through that iteration process, they're able to produce stuff in a lot of better quality. But anyhow, the other side, of course, is water consumption. You need to cool these things.
Oh.
So they're pumping in a huge amount of additional water to basically, stop the stuff from melting.
As someone who has melted a CPU before, yeah.
Doesn't take a huge amount, because when I first studied chip technology back in the 90s, right, the basic rule of thumb was a chip should last about a decade.
Mm-hmm.
I handed on a BBC Model B microcomputer from the 80s to a work colleague who got it back up and running. So some of the really old chips still work to this day. Can't be guaranteed, but
Yeah.
When you heat the chip up, you're cutting that life expectancy. Sometimes in half, sometimes in a quarter. The more you heat it and push that upper limit, the more it's going to break down quickly. So NVIDIA's got a huge market cap at the moment. They apparently doing really well, but they've, basically through selling chips to everybody's going to burn through those chips reasonably quickly, say 3-4 years before they need to start replacing them. So we'll see how NVIDIA is doing at that point. But anyhow, all this stuff generates heat. Heat is bad for silicon. So they need to basically cool it down. So as a result, water, heat up, go in the atmosphere, all that kind of stuff. Then, of course, oh God, I've got one thing on the content apocalypse. This is, okay, in your professional capacities, have either of you made use of AI to write draft content, put together rough images, rough drafts, initial drafts, and that sort of stuff for stuff that you'd like to put out there? I know I have in my professional capacity. It's not saying I'm going to use it, but I use it to get ideas and to rough out a draft, that sort of stuff, right? Now,
I don't know. I've never used it to something in a professional capacity. I've messed with it, like to see what like the Bing AI, there's a thing that's being thrown around, like let's see what it does. But then like the Chat GPT, if I'm going doing a morning warm up, will give me 3 horror prompts. And then it's just rather than going out to the Barnes and Noble and buying a book of writing prompts that's going to cost like $20, go and get that, warm myself up, and then do my actual writing for the day.
Yeah, it's a good starting point, but beyond that, it's the thing. But some people are now using it for a full professional pipeline. So what and I think early last year we got a couple of cases of books produced with AI and just flooding the market.
Mm-hmm.
And this we're going to see more of, and this is what they refer to as the content apocalypse.
Yeah,
is that more and more content is going to be generated by AI because people who are unsure about their English language skills or don't feel confident enough to churn out a piece of professional artwork, in those cases, they're going to throw it to the AI and say, oh, yep, that's good enough, and go with that. But the thing is, more and more of that style of content that gets pumped out there, the more other AIs will siphon it up and add this, I'm going to say bland, beige style artwork in terms of writing, images, etc., into everything, so that you get this sort of narrowing of what art could be. And for humans, it takes us a lot longer to fall into those sort of things because an art trend will pop up, everybody will go off and explore it and do what they can with it, and then the next trend will and they'll move over to another area to explore that conceptually.
Yeah.
So, but AI, since it grabs everything, it mathematically reduces it down to, okay, this is what's expected, and that sort of stuff, with a few tweakings, things. But Scott Bradley from Postmodern Jukebox has a wonderful, I suppose, essay, for want of an older term, looking at the content apocalypse and how the AI-generated content, it lacks that human spark. It lacks something magical about it. And ultimately, the author emphasizes the quest for meaning and the human touch in the art that we create that will endure, regardless of AI's capacities. So it's that human touch that makes the difference. Let's see. I'm going to just, that's something else. But, yeah. I mean, I could talk sideways about drones at this point. I've been following the Russia/Ukraine conflict, for want of a politically neutral term.
Yeah.
Shit show is another one, but yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think that's well a bit spicier. I think that's still politically neutral. Is a shit show is apt. Yeah.
Yeah. Both sides are now making extensive use of drones.
Mm-hmm.
Russia's importing them from Iran. Ukraine's importing them from elsewhere and producing their own. The new drone can strike something like 1,000 Ks, 800, 600, 700 miles inland from where it's launched. And they're striking places in deep inside territories.
Yeah.
These are automated systems. Once, basically like fire and forget rockets. Once you give it a target, give it a destination, it will try to get there. So this is the first generation of automated systems. This is a fairly sizable thing. Mounted on the back of a truck, can be launched. And then we scale down to small personal things. Portable handheld drones, pilot systems. Bang. Drone warfare has become a huge part of this. And these are, individual suicide drones taking out vehicles or troops or whatever. So these are controlled at the moment, but they're not necessarily going to always be that way. Anyone who's watching, I would push you towards a 2017 video called Slaughterbots, which is about how AI systems in small micro drones with a single, I think 3 or 30 gram shaped charge is designed to headbutt people and blow their brains out the back of their skull.
Jesus Christ!
It's the
hunter killer from Dune, like.
Yes. And the thing is, this has sort of been in the background of my thinking for the last little while, which is why I'm kind of a bit dark on AI. But Australia have released a new vehicle, a 10-ton autonomous, I think it's described as a troop support vehicle. It has a 50mm cannon on top and is remote controlled. It takes nothing to rip out the guts of those electronics and replace it with a simple AI-based system. It is autonomous, so it can generally act on its own. This is flagging to me a future direction of warfare, because you already have highly integrated systems. Like the modern military these days is not, pilot hops in plane, flies over sortie, comes back, and that sort of stuff, or your troops go out in a group. It is an integrated system, because it's not just one vehicle system operating on its own, but it's many working together, providing electronic warfare, providing covering fire, providing other support in a real-time live kind of way. So that to me is where, I'm starting to get a little terrified.
Well, yeah,
sorry to,
in these we've all, with some way, shape, or another, have had our views of the future painted by the Terminator franchise.
Yes,
and that's them right there with it. That's, oh god, that's spooky. Because then also that brings in the whole new advent of cyber warfare, which has been growing like a California wildfire. I speak on as an authority on the subject, being a Californian who constantly breathes in ashes. It's
sorry, you're talking to an Australian. Back in 2019 we had
solidarity, but that is, that's the.
Well, you see it in a sci-fi movie, and 15, 20 years later, you see it in reality.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
But it's always not, like most of the time, it's not the same kind of thing. like, back in the, I suppose, people jacking into the Matrix, you plug the things in the back of your head, a la Matrix, a la
Neuromancer.
Thank you. But these days it's more of that interface that we have here. We have cameras, we have headphones, we have that sort of stuff, and we spend a huge amount of time. Yeah. There's one of them that I was just thinking about, but there's a TV series called Red Dwarf from the UK. Sci-fi TV series covers a lot of things. I've got the novels here somewhere. But one of the things in the novels they talk about that never showed up in the TV series was a drug called bliss. And it was described as the only drug you can get addicted to by looking at it. Which I looked at and got, that's a weird concept, but that would never happen. And now I introduce you to social media and the neural hacking that happens there. And, I do describe it as neural hacking.
It's memetics, yeah.
Yeah, it's all those psychological tricks that they play on you in that sort of stuff. But yeah, anyhow, linking behavioral manipulation and artificial intelligence, we whack the two together and we get cyber attacks that are designed to manipulate the AIs. First level of this sort of stuff was Nightshade, I talked about a year ago, which is designed to fuck up the Nightshade internal systems. But the NIST is looking at tracking different ways that these systems can be hacked and broken. And, given that AI systems can produce custom-shaped cyber weapons designed to break things. In fact, this is kind of affecting how I run netrunners in my games these days. Whereas I don't look at netrunners jumping onto the web, or it's in Shadowrun you'd call it the Matrix. In cyberspace, it's called the cyberspace.
The net.
The net. But the thing is, Red dealt with it by just trashing the net and having that not really be a thing. Shadowrun's kept the Matrix, but it's still a thing. I deal coming from a different perspective in that there's a thing called the Internet of Things. Every piece of electronics is a computer, which means every piece of electronics around you can be hacked, which means that you can take over whatever you want in your local environment, which is why netrunners locally are really, really powerful. It's much like spellcasters in D&D.
Yeah.
So I've started introducing things like illusionists, who are specialists in taking over holographic systems to project stuff into the environments that they deal with, or play with audio tricks and whatever, that sort of stuff. Or necromancers who take over your cyberware, that kind of shit. And, they have programs built in, puppet masters.
Yeah.
But that sort of stuff to have fun and games with.
A quick aside on that is because the idea of hacking into the other people's cyberware before the release of the edgerunners mission kit. So Cyberpunk DMs like myself, we had to players that had seen edgerunners that had played 2077. They want their quick hacking to be the Cyberpunk mage. Well, all right, fuck it, get back together, roll it out. It's broken, doesn't fucking matter. There's one of them in the party. Everyone has guns. Well,
look, the local hacker in my online group, what they do is they hack vending machines. Now, vending machines come preloaded with 4 shotgun shells of Dragon Breath round.
Oh no!
And so they're just triggering the rounds at the nearest possible person.
That's
fucking
funny.
Easy to do. But that's what they're doing.
Oh, that's brilliant. But then, the the netrunner in my game did the deep cover psyop. They basically having auto translators. Be it on things you're looking at or you're hearing. And so someone goes to your read a sign in Japanese, it'll translate it as you're looking at it, but it would make like Comic Sans and do it Google Translate instead. So just gradually turn someone insane via in the most mundane ways possible. But no, that's
if you want to dive deep on psyops, look up the terminology mice, because it's money, coercion, extortion, and something else. I can't remember the other one, but it's a four-letter acronym that CIA operatives use to basically subvert people to what they want them to do. It's one of the fundamental things in psyops.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get bored and I read shit.
Yeah, it's if you haven't read it, Market Forces is awesome. It's one of my free book recommendations. But we tangented off into tabletop stuff, so let's take one more step and bring us into transitioning into the TTRPG space with Paulette.
Well, we've got some exciting things happening right now at Fantasy Grounds. Matter of fact, our Fantasy Grounds Friday show is transitioning quite a bit, where the shows will be a little more like TV shows, I guess. They're going to be, every week's going to be a certain topic. The first, matter of fact, we had Adam Bradford on today discussing that and showing off some of the new things that are coming to Fantasy Grounds, like the new 2.5 on the maps. It's going to be beautiful. I can't wait. It's already in where people can go in the back and use some of it, but it's going to be soon. I can't wait to be able to show some of that off. Also got a lot of new games out there. We've got the D&D 2024 is out already. So we've got the players for that. Starfinder 2, Tales of the Valiant. So many good things out there right now. But my favorite thing, Cosmere RPG. We've got a free version until the regular comes out because the Kickstarter just finished. The highest one ever, $15 million.
Woo!
How's that for a Kickstarter?
Yeah, right. That's like a Kickstarter and quite literally and change millions of it. So is it like quick start rules, or they like release like for the free trials, like sometimes you get like
the free trials. A basic outline of the rules, let people get there's one module to play out and try it, but it's really nice and the art's beautiful. Oh my God,
that's
so pretty. I can't wait to see the books.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, that's
and at $15 million, they should be amazing.
It's
yes.
It's I missed the physical weight of RPG books, but that's it's the part of me that misses doing like in-person games is having just like there's the meat of the book.
There's something you said for a book that you can hold up
in
and
person.
slap the player with and knock them down.
Yeah. Hit him with the book, and then you get like the Pathfinder first edition. So like wait. Yeah.
Oh look, my GM one time pissed off with a player, piffed a D20 right between the eyes and a nat 20 on the table. You couldn't get better than that.
That's legendary.
I have a brass D20 that's hand size. Yeah. Just for that reason.
Yeah, it's like cannonball. Have a little like the little swivel gun from a ship. Yeah. Oh man.
You roll across the table real fast. No.
Yeah. It's bowling with your players. But it's I've also definitely used VGTs in my in-person games. Because it makes map prep so much easier. It's like, okay, guys, take like a smoke break, coffee break, whatever. I'm gonna drop the map, or put out the if you're super Gucci and you have like terrain and stuff. But then having like, okay, I've got these maps like on the BTT, I can put it on a screen. In my setup, yes, we put in my living room, so the TV will be behind me. Also the fireplace, which is great for Halloween games. But yes, the Cthulhu keeper just in all black, backlit by a fireplace. It was awesome. Had an actual scream at the table. No,
yes.
but yes, it's so streamlining, and God, if you like hyperlinked like rule books are more when I can go to the table of contents and just like poke at a thing
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it brings me to like the rule in question instead of having to leave. But also like again, it's I I can't have it all.
I can take my laptop and go anywhere and play,
Mm.
and I have 3,000 books at my disposal
Oh yeah.
on that laptop.
Oh yeah. That was the
I can't
Yeah.
carry that many books to a game.
God,
yeah.
no. It,
That's the trade-off. Yeah.
it is a trade-off. I'm a map nerd. I love the maps. I
still
love
love my
having the
books.
the books things. But I like having hard copy. It's easy. I find just pick up, flick through, go, yep, that cool, great, go. And like 90% of the time, I'm just making shit up anyway.
Yeah.
And I feel, and I saw a video a couple of days ago. It's like I like theatre of the mind because you don't need maps and you're working with the player's imagination.
Excellent.
You're reaching into the head and getting them to think about it and that sort of stuff. And sometimes what they ask questions around or what they come up with is off the wall and you go, great, new direction, let's go that way.
Absolutely. Yes.
Whereas, and I don't want to be against VTTs and digital maps. They have their use and they're bloody useful for the tactical situations.
Mm-hmm.
But because they're very visual, they take away that part of you imagining what it could be. And so at the moment, these days, I'm kind of torn about it. I love making them. I love drawing them and that sort of stuff. But I can also see that trade-off fighting against it of it just, it makes things a little too easy in some regards.
Well,
And
even with the VTT, you can do theater of the mind.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You just
that's what I've
have
been
your
doing
books. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing with my group, for my Cyberpunk group, for the last year or so, is just theatre of the mind. And I'll pull up a map if I feel it's absolutely necessary. But most of the time, we're just talking through situations. If it gets to a nitty-gritty combat situation, then I'll pick out an appropriate map, drop it down, and go, okay, this is the setup. This is what you're looking at. That bit, I'll just get a pencil, scribble it out, and go, no, we'll just change that to that thing over there, and that sort of stuff. So, what I talked about netrunners using vending machines or local bits of hardware to do their thing keeps the game fairly quick, fairly light, but it also allows them to be more active in that sort of role. And that kind of comes together and works quite nicely. So yeah.
There's
sorry.
It's like it also like using the like VTT's tools, for maps and like the automation of certain rules, is it all because like everything it boils down to the game. For like really crunchy games, VTTs is a fucking godsend because because I'm ginger. I have to fight my ginger cat for the one brain cell we share at any given time. So like a really crunchy system, having the VTT to alleviate, especially as a GM, like alleviate that like the pools of dice or this like the really like arbitrary rules just simplify with like with
You're not a dice goblin?
Like I love rolling dice, but when you have a game with really weird, like I love Wrath and Glory. Wrath and Glory is really strange. Or if you have like the Fantasy Flights like Star Wars game, that game is probably one of the best theater of the mind systems to run in. One, they like to get like the specialty dice that the Cypher system requires. It's like $15 for a booster pack.
Ooh, okay.
But then like you can just put that in a VTT and have those those special dice on hand. Simplifies it, and it goes, oh hey, you got like a Triumph die, which is it glows. I played it in Foundry on Roll20, and I believe also in Fantasy Grounds, and each one it goes like it simplifies like here's your successes, here's your boosts. It lays out like the things that you need to know, so you're not like picking through the individual roles. So like for the super tactical games, like the Cyberpunk game I ran for about a year, they were super tactical about everything because I told them, hey, Cyberpunk's lethal. They like, oh whatever, we just came off of a 6-year stint of Werewolf the Apocalypse. We were all basically gods anyway. First combat, someone gets their arm blown off by a shotgun and they go fuck, and they became very careful after the fact. They started thinking tactically, using using cover, using like the rules, and using because usually it is you have the players will do something broken and busted they found on Reddit usually, and use it on the table, and then the GM goes, anything you can do, the bad guys can do too. But they were new. This may have been a bit of like, here, swim, Jimmy, and throwing the kid into the pool, like that John Wayne clip. There was one of my darling edgerunners had they're going to go throw a grenade, and I had one of the tiger claws behind cover, waiting to do a called shot, as a reaction, and called shot on the guy's arm, shot the arm, so he dropped the grenade behind cover with his friends, and like, you can do that, and God bless it, they did it. They did it back to the bad guys at a later session. It's like, hey, wounds became wisdom. And it's again.
But that's the thing. You train your players up, don't you?
Yeah. But you train them up, and also because of how VTTs simplify the math, especially for those very tactical systems. It's so nice. Like, that especially when you have games where like you have like range or like variable damage types, it's VTTs are just a godsend. I love them. And again, even for like if you're doing a more of a theater of the mind game, one that I've fallen in love with has been Outgunned.
I bet the Kickstarter for that, but I haven't gone through the stuff yet.
It's the latest one, the Outgun Adventure. It's the Indiana Jones mummy game that I always wanted.
That sucked me in.
Oh, and I've been running that on the Fridays. We're not doing this and it is so much fun. I want to run at some point. I want to run Outgunned for Cybernation Uncensored. I'm looking at you, Rob. It's it's a great universal system. It's super pulpy. And it's and with like a VTT, you can just have like a splash image of or if you're going, especially for like the one like I'm running, where they're going to a lot of historical locations. Like they went to the Shepherd's Hotel in Cairo recently. That was their current base of operations. Is getting like Shepherd's Hotel 1935 and just splash image.
Yes,
and it gives you like the tactile feeling. It's as good as you can get to doing handouts when you can't have a physical handout in your hand. It's so good. It's such a handy tool, especially if you're just chronically bad at math.
Well, you are a ginger, so
my orange cat son has the brain cell. So there's the I don't if you can discuss it. What else is coming down the pipeline, Paulette? If you are at liberty to say, or if we're saying, if you must stay tuned in.
Stay tuned. Yeah, there's always something new coming, and that's what makes it fun. Is even with me, I don't always know what they're working on.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden I'll get here's what you need to put in this week's advertising. It's like, oh my God, when did we get this? Now, I do get to see when things are going to go on. I see them usually a week ahead of time.
Yeah.
So I know what's going to be. And I sit there like, oh, do I get to play with this now? I immediately go in and look at the books, and there's some beautiful stuff. And every week I get to see something different. I love it. Yeah, there's not enough time to play every system.
It's always the thing of like,
we have a monthly game day.
Mm-hmm.
It's the third Saturday of every month, and we do have different systems to people to try out. And because I work there, I need to leave the seats open for other people. But if there's a seat available, I'm on it, so I can try the new things.
Yeah, I get that is. But that has always been my bit of, I don't want to say sage, because I'm not going to blow myself up that much, but the one thing that helped me as a DM, to be you aspiring DM watching this stream now or later, you are absolutely allowed to have your favorite system, whatever that system is, but don't be afraid to explore, because you will always almost big asterisk on everything. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. But there's almost always going to be something in every system you read that you're going to like. And as a DM, the majority of your job is theft. So take everything you love and bring it
It's
into
simple.
your favorite system, and it will be the best thing for you and your players. And I emphasize you, the DM, first, because your fun matters. You are a player too. Never forget that. Should never feel like a job.
Look, it's the whole thing about, good artists do something, great artists steal.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine pointed out that role-playing is actually an art form. Coming up with stories on the fly, in the environment, all that kind of thing is an art form. Accept it and go for it. Steal everything. If it's nailed down, bring a hammer.
Yeah. If it's steal everything that's nailed down, if it can be pried loose, it doesn't count. And that I saw from the Firefly game. Go ahead, Paula.
Well, every Friday I'm in a game, and right now the main thing we're using is Savage Worlds. But that doesn't mean he's not using a Pathfinder book. He used Curse of Strahd, old Curse of Strahd D&D in this game. It's amazing where we're like, he did, well, with Strahd, we all kind of went, that sounds really familiar. It's like, it's just Strahd.
But that doesn't matter. I mean,
it's great though.
For me running Cyberpunk, I have ripped off Iron Crown Enterprises' old cyberspace game that had 10 books and died in the ass back in the 90s. I've ripped off chunks of Shadowrun because I had first and second edition Shadowrun. I've ripped off, bits and pieces of every movie I can think of. I don't tend to personally go for like the Expanse role-playing game or this role-playing game because that gets locked into the stories of those people. But I love going through those genre stories and picking out the little bits, go, oh, that's interesting, or that's another good thing, and add that to what I do in a game, because I think that elevates what you can do by, I don't know, adding cultural references, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Stealing liberally from everywhere.
Yeah. That's the
any literature.
Oh yeah. I think that's the
or life.
Yeah. No greater teacher than life, right? But borrowing from like Cyberpunk media, it is a very short game I ran. And we're going into like story anecdotes. But that's the part of one of the joys of role playing games, telling the stories, and also like the stories you've got, right? Like, man, like, like Paulette with we get a new thing to play with every week, and I'm professionally jealous. But like,
agreed.
No, but it was like going like when all the Altered Carbon, like when Altered Carbon the show came out, and then the game shortly thereafter, this thing of like, okay, my Cyberpunk group, like wanted something like similar to that, but Cyberpunk itself was way more grounded. But there was also 2077 and the whole thing like Soul Killer and all that. And so like, okay, in clones they work but not really. The system's washy on it. So I just like, you know what? I'm gonna borrow from something else that to make it even more fucked up. As I plucked a bit from The Handmaid's Tale. I was like, so Soul Killer, Soul Killer kills the mind and replaces the personality. So you'd have these mega corporate heads basically have like idyllic communities that are well fed, and basically they're basically the whole thing of designer babies but analog. So they're super healthy bodies, really great setup, and like that one, my brand's going in that one. And then bioscope them to like their old self and their prime. Like, oh my god! And
have you seen Free Jack, the movie?
No.
From 1995.
Yeah.
It stars Mick Jagger of all people and Emilio Estevez, I think. That takes a similar idea, except what they're doing is they're plucking people at a time to steal their bodies to take the body over.
Yeah, it was something very similar. And so actually the edgerunners go like, oh, Biotechnica's fucked. Let's set it on fire, and it's you get the silver hand thumbs up, and then the silver horns. But yeah, it was a very short game because very heavy subject matter, and that will burn people out really fast. So it's best done in small bites. But
oh god, yeah.
Yeah, but that was it was good. It was I felt good as the DM because I had to be a sadistic asshole.
I'm sorry, it's something about all GMs I know. They learn how to be evil really, really well, and it's a skill.
No, because
What about the player that's I don't GM?
Well, look, a friend of mine had a
I'm a
term called
murderer.
Cthulhu good guys. And
the
the Cthulhu
first
good
step
guys,
is admitting it.
yeah. And the Cthulhu good guys are the kind of people. Well, the Cthulhu bad guys are the people who help old ladies across the street and save cats from trees. So you can imagine what the Cthulhu good guys are like. They're the flip. Yes, and sometimes your players look at that and go, "That came from your head. What the hell's going on?"
Yeah, it's definitely one of those like, what's the matter with you? It's like, listen, man, because being a type 1 diabetic for the last 15, 16 years, and in a late stage capitalist society, I tend to make Biotechnica my villain and medtech and trauma team because that's super personal to me, and then
Yes.
because as everything cyberpunk, you tell like that personal rebel story. And if you can sell, if you can, be it like book, movie, role playing game, you sell it to the audience on the, oh man, like I have to pay out the ass. Oh, previously, thank goodness for the new things, I have to pay more than $15 out of pocket. But it's like previously it'd be like it'd be like $500 for this little vial that keeps me alive for a month, and people are like, oh fuck.
I have to say, from a personal perspective, I don't understand it. Not because you have type 1 diabetes or whatever, but just the cost of medicines. Because here in this backwater known as Australia, we have, I'm not going to say universal healthcare, but something approaching it. So as an asthmatic and I have to get stuff regularly, thankfully I'm not out of pocket a huge amount. I had a colleague I used to work with who was a type 1 diabetic and has got one of those, he's working on getting towards an insulin organ, I think it is, where you get an implant that covers that sort of stuff for it.
All I have is my pump. I'm a diet cyborg. He's a full cyborg. That's awesome. But
so yeah. But I had to ask. Broken Empires. That's meant to be getting a VTT on Foundry, isn't it?
I'm not on
Because
Foundry.
I've just backed the Kickstarter.
I'm on
and
Fantasy
the Kickstarter
Grounds.
wrapped up Fantasy Grounds. Oh, bugger.
Wrong one.
I'll have to wrong one. I may be just looking in the wrong place. That's the only one I've seen.
And
yes.
And I don't know for getting that one because again,
hopefully.
I don't work in that area.
Yeah.
I find out what's coming a week before.
Yeah.
Except for on some of the ones,
Oh yeah.
But,
and one thing I wanted, because I had the arm up, if you were on the computer all the time, these are a godsend.
Oh yeah.
Wrists. Yeah.
Can you tell which one the mouse is? Yeah.
Yeah. My mouse pad has one of those built in at the base, but yeah, it absolutely saved my wrist. I've got the like the little sliding tray for the keyboard too, so it's otherwise it just digs in anyway.
Yeah, it craps out.
Yeah.
So,
but
I've learned sort of wrist exercises to stretch things, and those they call them Chinese health medicine balls. It's a pair of balls, and you just roll them around your head. I found that actually worked on my RSI something brilliant that sort of helped fix it because I'm on a computer all the time. I teach the bloody things. So, yeah.
Yes. For me, it's the noise they make. It's I love the
clack.
It's both the clack, like the dice skull, but it's like the ones that I had when I was in college, they're metal and they kind of like harmonic hum. It's kind of just this like, oh, this is the good shit.
There's a little bell inside them or something that gives out the sounds and stuff.
Yeah. It's just they're going,
something before you go to your stuff. I have to
absolutely
mention one thing that I forgot. Meta has a new thing that I'm just going to label the Docs goggles, where Meta's new goggles, right? Somebody built an app for them that scans faces, looks them up online, pulls up their details, and gives you their readout.
Whoa.
In the space of a minute.
Oh.
Now, major invasions of privacy. Oh, I don't like it, but I'm telling you about it.
That's like a Minority Report. Holy shit!
Yes. No, Minority Report's something more, but this is
but it's the start.
Yeah, it is. It is, and this is the kind of thing that people are, taking existing technology and go, okay, what can we do with it? How can we break the world in some sad ways?
What is it that Was it that Goldblum said in Jurassic Park? You're so busy asking yourself if you could. You didn't bother to ask yourself if you should.
If I
Yeah,
should.
it's the one.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got a few minutes left. My thing's a bit of a lightning round for this month's segment of our show. One is a bit of an aside. I don't know if it was just for me and mine, but Halloween seemed really dead this year. Did you guys experience that?
Can't tell I'm Australian. We get a small Halloween. We're copying the US, but it's what it is.
That's
I'm
fair.
running. Look, at the moment, once I finish up here in about 5 minutes, I'm going back to the Call of Cthulhu game I'm running for my daughter and her friends.
Oh, okay. So you're winning
Aw.
a Halloween on the Halloween front.
It's 2 days late. It's the second over here, but yeah.
I live in the woods, and I've lived in my house for 21 years, and I've had a total of 5 trick-or-treaters in 21 years.
Okay.
So I did go we went trunk-or-treating.
That's yeah. We've had that popping up too.
Yeah.
But I'm in the middle of like suburban California, so that's really
Okay.
weird to
Yes,
have
that's
people
a little
tailgating
different.
with candy outside of neighborhoods. But if you're isolated, I 100% understand
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Well, there's like one neighborhood where it's, a few blocks. And what people do is if you have a friend that lives in the neighborhood, you bring your lawn chairs, your bowls of candy, and everybody just lines the streets. So it's just like 2 blocks that the kids have to trick or treat,
It's
and that
nice.
works great for the regular trick or treating.
Hmm.
And we can do things like you can actually eat food or get a drink without worrying about, any.
Well, my daughter was
problems
at the
with
front of our
those.
place while we were handing out lollies, and I had to duck off for reasons.
Lollies.
But she had some people come around and said, "Oh, do you have any water? Water, please." So we end up hydrating a bunch of kids coming through.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting here because, like 20 years ago, trick or treating just wasn't a thing because it's not really an
I'm
Australian
sorry.
holiday. It's a whole Australian celebration. We have other things that we, go crazy for. But it's become more of a thing in the last while, which I find interesting and slightly strange. But that's just because I'm not used to it culturally. It's I saw it in ET when I was growing up, and I thought, oh, okay, that's a weird thing, because it just wasn't on my cultural radar as a thing.
Yeah, so they kind of like guess cultural homogenization through popular media. I'm sure like after like Stranger Things, and just I guess just everything is so interconnected now with social media and just the internet and everything. Things will carry over. Things will pick up traction.
It used to be the case that it took 6 months for a computer game to come from either Europe or the US to get to here when I was growing up back in the 80s. These days, it's the same day release thanks to Steam. It's a lot of the distance time barriers that used to exist that I noticed growing up in fucking nowhere have disappeared.
Yeah.
Thanks to that internet connection. And, the decline of the internet connection here in Australia is a point of hatred that I will always hold bitter. Because we went from 16th in the world down to 56 in the space of a couple of years.
Jesus.
Not a good look.
Yeah,
but anyhow, you got me crapping on again.
No, but that's the reason why I bring it up is because like we had one trick or treater this year, and and that's just about the average number from friends of mine all over the U.S. From all different time zones. And I had more trick or treaters in 2021 mid lockdown, to the point where I would it's like, okay, well, I've got to throw on a costume and be out there with a bowl. And what's a costume? I have that guy you can wear with a mask. Thank goodness I cosplayed Arthur Morgan. Like the year prior. I remember in 2019 rather. Still COVID time dilation. So I just put on my Arthur Morgan costume, mask, and then the bandana. So I just looked like a bank robbing cowboy. And I had my mask. I was safe. And the kids would get their candy. And I was probably the busiest my house had ever been during this time of the year. But this year it was dead. One kid all day. And part of that might be because the new EA BioWare Dragon Age game dropped that day. I know because I was certainly playing it. I was playing Veilguard. All my friends and loved ones were also playing Veilguard, which is segues into my personal review after a day and a half of playing it. I went into the game blind. They had I saw the like the trailer for it, like it's the reveal trailer, which not great. And there were apparently the reviews and stuff had been better. I was being assured, but I didn't want to watch them because I wanted to go in and not have preconceptions. I try and do that
Yeah.
with games nowadays, just because the media machine for games, it gets so wound out of control. You can
So
have
hyped super
preconception.
quick.
Yeah, you can have preconceptions before you actually get your hands on the product. And I started playing the game last night, or well, yesterday at around like 3 p.m. At about 9 p.m., I said, I'm just gonna go and play 2077. It was it's I guess the hashtag not my Dragon Age. It was for those
Yeah.
that are enjoying it, for those that like it, enjoy it, like it. You are allowed to like what you like. Is the coming from because I will own that I am a tough customer when it comes to games. I'm almost impossible to please because I went to college for game design. So I will see things that will stick in my craw a bit faster than other people. It's like the thing is like positives for it, like it has
Mm.
like it looks beautiful and it runs quite well. Like I've got a 3090 in my PC. It's a decent video card. It's not like the big top of the line, but it's a powerful bit of machinery. But my fans weren't screaming at me, which is it's a good sign. Um, but it's also like the hair on the character models was probably the most realistic like modeled hair in any game I've ever seen, which is a marvel in itself. Um,
Mm.
but and there was the character creation was super robust. There was a evident that was the biggest investment for them in the game.
But see, you look at people playing games, and they'll start games, but they'll never get a chance to finish them.
Yeah.
I mean, I still haven't done a full playthrough of Skyrim.
Mhm.
I've played chunks of it and enjoyed it, but I get distracted, get life, get things. And as I've gotten older, I've got fussier about the games I play.
Yeah.
I stopped playing first-person shooters when I had a bunch of 13-year-olds kick my ass in Wolfenstein Enemy Territory
Yeah.
for the space of 3 hours. I enjoy first-person shooters, but it's not something I crave as an experience these days.
Yeah.
There are games where I want interesting stories or novel mechanics or something weird. The first time in Minecraft, it rained. I thought, fuck. Because it caused me to stop and look at the environment. And now they're adding those sort of environmental effects to what's basically a crappy 8-bit game. It's got some really good mechanics in the back end, but having that sort of started to, I looked at it and go, okay, cool. Because I grew up in the era where, if a computer game had 2 colors, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Space Invaders in black and white. I started on the Atari 2600, which was amazing because it had 8 colors. Or was it 4? It doesn't matter. And so having watched the evolution of the industry from those early days, these days I look at and go, fancy graphics are great, but what keeps bringing you back?
And
It's gameplay.
And that's the thing that Railguard misses the mark for me. Like it looks great. The character creator is cool, but from someone who's played all of the other Dragon Age games to completion, and I ranted and raved and stamped my feet when Dragon Age 2 had this massive change of aesthetics, but it's a different art team. It happens.
Yeah.
And what was really cool to me about Inquisition is that it managed to merge the aesthetics of the first and second game to make it something cohesive.
Cool.
But now like with Veilguard, it looks and plays like a Korean MMO. The game is, and to my friends and loved ones who love the game and are, if you're watching this at now or later, it is a soulless, vapid pretender to what Dragon Age was. It is someone trying to fill Dad's shoes. And all because the writers that made BioWare what it was when it was releasing its its real kick in the pants games, when or Dragon Age Origins and Mass Effect first came out, all those guys have jumped ship. The writing of the game, both for character voice, like the lines of dialogue and just the storyline, it feels like the writers are gonna go back to the drops of Kotaku once they've collected their paycheck. It's it's super hollow, and it's in the combat too. Because I
Mm.
people love playing mages, and that's more power to them. Just every problem in Dragon Age is because of a mage. So yes, you should clean up your messes. Um, but but like I've played a warrior through. It's my first playthrough through all the games. But now with this new playstyle of theirs, the warrior is clunky and boring and
But the
sluggish.
thing is, somebody talked about the later version, fifth edition D&D, about how it took ideas of Ars Magica, and how the most powerful characters in that were the magicians and the mages and that sort of stuff. But you meant
Yeah.
to play trope style and that sort of stuff,
Mhm.
where everybody plays in different roles. And mages have become more and more powerful with every subsequent version of D&D.
Yeah.
That magic is more ubiquitous and more out there. And comparatively, fighters and thieves and other types have never got as much spotlight or enhancement. So I think it was the Rule Cyclopedia for Redbox D&D introduced weapon mastery, I think it was,
Yeah.
where
The
a
weapon
fighter
masters.
could actually improve the damage dice of the weapons they're using in transition, because the growth of a wizard or a cleric is exponential. Every level you gain so much more power, access to new spells and more options and this sort of stuff. Whereas with a fighter, ooh, I hit it again.
Yeah, I bonk him with my stick. Yeah.
Mm,
And that is very much how like the playing the warrior in Veilguard feels. And it's because if you're doing it like an action RPG, the being active and being all like in the thick of it should feel good. But
mm,
like they've got like your parry button or your block button in the game. So
yeah,
when you're the warrior, you raise your shield, and but you have to like face your shield to the incoming damage. Like, cool, that makes sense. But then like
yeah,
the mage just gets a defensive bubble, which blocks from any
all
direction.
angles.
Yeah, it's like
Mm,
so like yeah, why not just play a mage and just
yeah.
that's why give us the
And
illusion of a choice. Um,
yeah, I mean, I enjoyed having done medieval combat, in that when you started off, you learn how to hit things.
mhm,
And the best fighters are the ones who learn how to protect themselves so they can keep fighting and hit things more.
yeah,
But then as you become a more experienced fighter, you learn to throw out combinations. The first one to sort of draw the shield out of alignment, the second one to roll in to find that gap that you've just created. And
mhm,
so, in that sort of sense, it becomes a little bit of a chess game of back and forth between two opponents to
Yeah.
try and engage in that sort of different way. And I think people who are writing role playing games these days, I'm not going to be mean, but lack that experience to really be able to describe that narrative of combat. And, as a younger player, I would never have thought of it. But having had experienced those sorts of things, it's like, how do you break that into a game? How do you be able to tell the narrative of a fight? And so a friend of mine who was running, oh, God knows what, was talking about how when he was encouraging his players to narrate what they were doing, they'd throw the dice, they'd get the result, and they'd narrate something. All right, I come in with an offhand and circle round and try and strike the side of the head, but I miss and skim off the top of his helmet because I missed, and that sort of stuff. And so that way, around the table, they're really building this dynamic narrative of things going on. And when you get games that really flow like that, they tend to lead to really good experiences
yeah,
as one option.
absolutely, yeah. It's
The
the
thrust and parry.
yeah, like
Mm,
having like and it's a big ask to have a game. Say like if only this game was more like Jedi Survivor or something, right? Because that game was a masterclass that came out
mm,
of fucking nowhere. But but you can see where like the game is simultaneously trying to be like an easily accessible action RPG, but also like dipping its toe into like some Souls like stuff. But, with being like,
mm,
oh, you got to be active with your timing and everything. It's like just no, just Mm. I can go at length about it, but we're over
mm.
time. So
Well,
Just a
I was
bit.
to say, The one that's caught me lately that I've seen being played across socials is the one where you're running your friendly neighborhood game store.
Oh, it was the what's it, the
So
trading game store simulator or one of those? Yeah.
I'm not even sure the name of it, but it's like, wow, this is different. It
That's,
was not expected.
yeah, it's always those like those indie sim games that come out of left field
Yeah.
and then like are for whether they're the zen or like a zen aspect or they tickle some part of your brain that you didn't know needed scratching. No, it's
But
yeah.
it's the novel and new. That's what you were after.
Yeah.
Having
Yeah.
playing a
Novel
solid
in
game
there.
forever and a day, you go, I want something different, something new, something that tickles that bit back there that I haven't smashed in a little while
Yeah.
or whatever.
And
It's-
sometimes you just need mindless.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's games like Dystopica or like tiny as a Tiny Glade, where they're just building games. They're like no resources,
Yes.
but you're playing with with digital Legos. And Tiny Glade,
Yeah.
using that to make maps for your tabletop game, good idea. It's
Oh,
It works.
so good.
Small townships, little
Yeah.
derelict castles and that stuff.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
it's a lot of fun.
It's an awesome little toolbox. But I'm gonna wrap up with something super positive with a movie review. It's gonna be quick and clean, and we'll wrap it there. But I went to go see Wild Robot in theaters. It was a DreamWorks piece that I saw it show up, and I was like, you know what, I've got a free ticket for the or a free ticket that'll cover our matinee cost. I'll go see it. Um, I'm man enough to admit that I cried twice. Because we're talking about robots that are being designed to to kill and whatnot. Um, the Wild Robot, it shares a lot of DNA with Iron Giant. Is this robot gets marooned on an island, I think off of the coast of Alaska. And basically, so this robot has to learn from the animal denizens. And basically, I was thinking like, oh, it's gonna be like a funny kind of like maybe like a Brother Bear kind of story. I was not expecting this like found family, like empty nester tale through the point of view of a single mother. As the robot adopts a gosling, having no idea how geese work, and it has to basically you're suddenly a mom. You need to learn how to parent because you have no idea how this thing works, how this functions, but you've got a job to do. um the the voice acting was incredible. We had Pedro Pascal as the fun uncle slash adopted dad. It was Fink the fox. And I at 2 points in the film I was weeping because I can watch movies. I could watch Children of Man and just just this, but if it's a story involving the hardships of animals, I am a filthy mess. Yeah, and I was the target audience for that movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Both as an enjoyer of animated films, but then also just as the conservationist in me. They all come together to win against a wildfire. And I was like, oh yeah, hey, it's like I'm a Californian. I understand that story. But it was I can't recommend it enough. If you've got younger family members or family members that you think are jaded, sit them down, watch the movie, and there will be tears. I
Make them
realized like,
cry.
okay, I'm I'm not entirely broken. I'm salvageable because that movie had me going absolute mess. But yeah, I can't recommend it enough. Um but yeah, I did my book recommendation earlier. I can't remember what it is because we've been zigzagging all over the place tonight. But
Yeah.
thank you.
It's fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, we can,
Yeah.
back and forth. Yeah, it's the natural conversations. This is what I love about this show. But we are a bit over time, which shows we've had a good time here. So, for those of you watching now and later, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. This has been Talk Nerded to Me on Cybernation Uncensored late at night. I have been your center talking head, Alex, joined by my illustrious co-hosts. I know one final time, remind everyone who you are and where they can find you. Gomi.
I'm Gomi. I'm available on the Impossible Emporium. If I bother to go put out videos on the YouTube channel, which is all random 3D and other stuff I happen to wander across. Other than that, you may find me in other places, but yeah, I wander. I keep a fairly low profile because I enjoy this stuff. But yeah. Anyhow.
And Paulette.
Monday through Friday, you can find me on the Fantasy Grounds Discord or on my own socials, Belmuerte or Belmuerte66 across the socials.
All right, everyone. So once again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sitting here and engaging in chat, joining in on the conversations. Your input is always welcome. Especially we had no fact checks, but I do love when I do get fact checked live because it keeps me humble. So I will catch you guys next month when we run again. Until then, I will talk to you guys next time. Have a good one.
Be seeing you.
Cybernation Uncensored